and the American Association of Tissue Banks, but we're permitted to do what we do by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The Food and Drug Administration actually regulates the piece of work that we do that involves tissue recovery and allocation of that recovery for processing. So we have two biggies that are always knocking on our doorstep, sometimes unannounced, Medicare and the FDA. We are also a member of good standing with the United Network for Organ Sharing, which is the federal contractor that is a member organization that makes the rules for the federal government for how organs will be recovered safely, how they'll be identified as able to be shared, and then how they'll be shared. And at times we share organs across the country. If they can't be placed locally, we don't want an organ to go to waste, so we will place it nationally. We also adhere to rules set down by the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Act and Occupational Safety and Health Administration, of course. And I think those are the biggies. We have critical partners in our community. We value all the partners we have, including our neighbors, but we also have some pretty important partners that help us get our job done, with whom we can't get our job done. And they include the Department of Public Safety, the B&B, the Department of Health, the Hospital Association in Ohio, the Ohio Coroners Association, the Funeral Directors Association, the General Assembly as a whole, the United Network for Organ Sharing, U.S. Health Resources Services Administration. We actually do work with the U.S. Congress, and then Donate Life America, which is the organization across the United States that brands the donation concept and messages to the public about the need for donation. One thing there, one sort of glaring example you might remember if you watched the Rose Bowl parade New Year's Day, there was a Donate Life float. And so we actually participated in some of that assembly and in celebrating that float and the people who were honored in that float. The donation process really occurs in a way that's not really like is depicted in television. You know, if you see some of the drama shows, you see people in bathtubs waking up with a missed kidney and all sorts of very interesting things. That's not how it's done. And I'm here to tell you it's not how it's done. What happens is, by Medicare rule, every hospital in our service area has to have a contract with us, and part of that contractual obligation is that they will call us on every potential death or death in their hospital. If brain death is potentially in process to be declared or is declared, then we are called into action to sort of determine whether or not donation might be an option, or more importantly, whether or not that individual during their lifetime had registered to be an organ tissue donor. We validate that authorization, and then we do the donor management process, which sometimes can take more than 2 days. You have to manage the situation to make sure that no gift is lost, and then you have to also make sure you can allocate those organs, and that sometimes involves going through a list of hundreds of potential recipients. We recover those organs for transplant, and then we do aftercare with donor families, which is really a lot of what we do. We stay with our donor families for as long as they want to be in contact with us, and we keep them connected to honor their gift. So it's a little bit different than might be depicted, I think, in the movies. One fear I think that people have, the biggest fear that people have, is that what's going to happen is they're going to register to be an organ donor, and they're going to show up at the hospital. The hospital is going to see that on a driver's license, and they'll say, "Well, this is a really good candidate. Let's just do this." And that doesn't happen. That's actually against the law, and you need to know that hospitals, the only people who have access to validate that registry are recovery agencies like